It was supposed to be just another interview. Cameras, lights, a polished studio, the usual setup for a celebrity conversation. But what happened when Demet Özdemir sat down in that chair was something no one expected. It wasn't a typical PR chat, it wasn't about promoting a project, and it definitely wasn't about gossip. It was raw, real, and heartbreakingly human. Within minutes, the atmosphere in the room changed. The host went silent, the crew looked stunned, and by the time it was over, everyone, including the audience, was in tears. Demet, known for her radiant smile and energetic spirit, began the interview as she always does, with warmth and charm. But as the questions grew more personal, something shifted. Her eyes softened, her voice trembled, and for the first time in a long while, she let her guard down completely. The woman who always seemed strong, confident, and in control revealed the pain she had been carrying behind that bright smile. "I think people forget that we all break sometimes," she said softly. "I just don't like to show it." It started with a question about her career, about how she deals with pressure and expectations. But instead of the usual rehearsed answer, Demet paused. She looked down, took a deep breath, and admitted something that left everyone speechless. "Sometimes I wake up and I feel like I don't recognize myself anymore. The world expects me to be this perfect version, always happy, always shining. But I'm just human. I have days when I can't even look in the mirror." The honesty in her voice pierced through the screen. It was the kind of confession that felt like a whisper shared directly to the heart of every viewer watching. As she spoke, she recalled moments of loneliness that came with fame, the kind no amount of success can heal. "People think being known means being loved," she said, her eyes glistening with tears. "But it's the opposite sometimes. You become more isolated because everyone sees the version they want to see, not the person you are." The interviewer sat still, clearly moved. The silence between questions was heavy but powerful, the kind that only truth can create. Then, unexpectedly, the topic shifted to love, a subject that Demet has always tried to keep private. The host asked gently, "Do you think you've truly healed from your past relationships?" There was a long pause. Demet smiled faintly, but it wasn't the kind of smile meant to hide pain, it was the kind that acknowledged it. "Healing is a word I don't use anymore," she replied. "You don't really heal, you just learn to live with what hurt you. Sometimes I think a part of me will always miss what I lost, even if I never want it back." Her words resonated deeply because they came from someone who had lived through public heartbreaks, endless rumors, and constant scrutiny. Yet she spoke with grace, not bitterness. "When you love deeply, that love doesn't disappear," she continued. "It changes shape. It becomes part of who you are. Even if things end, it doesn't mean it was meaningless. It's just life." At that moment, the host's eyes filled with tears too. The camera zoomed in on Demet's face, no makeup touch-ups, no perfect lighting, just authenticity. You could see the vulnerability in her eyes, but also an incredible strength. This was not the Demet Özdemir people were used to seeing on red carpets or TV screens. This was the real woman behind the fame, fragile yet fierce, heartbroken yet hopeful. As the interview continued, she opened up about how fame had changed her view of people. "You start to realize who's real and who's not," she said quietly. "There are people who stay around you for the light, but when that light dims even a little, they disappear. That's how I learned to value silence, it tells you who truly cares." One of the most emotional moments came when she was asked if she ever regretted being so open-hearted. Her answer brought the entire crew to tears. "No," she said, shaking her head gently. "Because that's who I am. I'd rather feel everything, even the pain, than feel nothing at all. I've been hurt, yes. I've been misunderstood, misjudged, but I've also loved and been loved in ways I'll never forget. And that's what keeps me alive." For the audience watching at home, that sentence hit like a wave. It wasn't just about her, it was about all of us. About the moments we've all hidden our sadness behind a smile. About the people we've lost, the dreams we've buried, the nights we've cried quietly so no one would see. Demet wasn't just telling her story, she was telling everyone's story. As the interview reached its final moments, the host asked a question that no one was prepared for. If you could speak to the younger version of yourself, the Demet who was just starting out, hopeful and scared, what would you say? She looked away for a moment, her eyes welling up again. I'd tell her to stop trying to be perfect, she said through a trembling voice. I'd tell her it's okay to lose people, it's okay to cry, it's okay to make mistakes. I'd tell her that one day, all the pain will make sense. Her voice cracked as she tried to continue, but the emotion was too strong. She covered her face for a second, trying to hold back tears, and whispered, I just wish I had believed that earlier. The host reached out and touched her hand gently, no words were needed. That small gesture said everything. When the interview aired, social media exploded. Clips from the show went viral within hours. Fans from all over the world shared the video, adding captions like, she spoke for all of us and, Demet, you're not alone. Even celebrities commented, praising her courage and honesty. It wasn't just another celebrity interview, it became a moment of collective empathy. Viewers said they cried watching it. Some said it helped them heal their own heartbreaks. Others said they finally understood the woman behind the fame. For days, Demet's name trended across platforms. But this time, it wasn't about her looks or her love life, it was about her truth. She had touched hearts in a way that few stars ever do. Later, in a follow-up post, Demet thanked her fans for their overwhelming support. I didn't plan to cry, she wrote. But maybe it was time to stop pretending I'm always strong. Thank you for understanding me, even when I couldn't find the right words. That post alone received millions of likes and thousands of heartfelt comments. People shared their own stories under her message, stories of loss, resilience, and hope. It became a wave of shared humanity. Behind the scenes, people who were in the studio that day described it as an unforgettable moment. One crew member said, when she cried, it didn't feel like a celebrity crying. It felt like a friend, a sister, someone you know. Everyone in that room felt connected to her pain. What made the interview so powerful wasn't just the tears, it was the honesty behind them. In an age where everything feels staged, Demet reminded everyone that authenticity still moves hearts. Her tears weren't a sign of weakness, but of strength, the kind of strength that comes from being real. And perhaps that's why the world fell in love with her all over again. Not because she was flawless, but because she wasn't afraid to show her flaws. Because she reminded people that it's okay to be human. Because she turned her pain into something beautiful, something that united millions of strangers through empathy. By the time the credits rolled, one thing was certain, Demet Özdemir's emotional interview didn't just leave everyone in tears, it reminded them how powerful vulnerability can be. And as the lights dimmed and the cameras turned off, she smiled softly and said, almost to herself, maybe crying isn't weakness. Maybe it's how we start to heal. That single sentence was shared thousands of times online. It became the quote of the year, a symbol of strength through vulnerability. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing a person can do, is simply to be real.